Ang mga hula sa Biblia. Para sa atin ba ang mga ito? Kung tayo ay totoong nagbabasa ng Biblia, mapapatunayan natin sa ating sarili na kung uunawain natin ang mga nakasulat rito, hindi maikakaila na ang mga sulat rito ay kwento ng mga kaganapan noon. Mga sulat at kwento ng kanilang pakikitungo noon sa Diyos. Higit lalo ang mga patotoo nila patungkol sa kalagayan, kapangyarihan at kabutihan ng Diyos. Sa totoo lang, ni hindi nga tayo nabanggit sa kanilang mga pag-uusap noon, na sa kanilang hinaharap, 2,000 years sa kanilang future, ay tayo ang makatatanggap ng lahat ng kanilang pinag-uusapan noon. Walang ganon. Katunayang lahat ng ipinangako sa kanila ng Diyos noon ay pangako ng lahat ng dapat maganap sa kanila. Kung baga, napakalinaw ng mga time statements ng mga sulat. Malinaw na hindi ang mga iyon ay para sa atin ngayon. Napakamaling pagtanggap ang ganito sa mga sulat kung ating aangkinin. Nagiging dahilan tuloy ng kalituhan sa ating pangunawa kung kaya't nahihirapan ang mga tao na unawaing totoo ang Biblia. Paano ba naman kasi natin ngayon maiuugnay ang mga paraan ng kanila noong lengguwahe, kultura at kalagayan, lalo na ang mga Old Testament language, kung ngayon ay sasabihing para sa ating lahat ng ito patungkol? Iniaasa na lang sa mga pare, pastor at mga ministro pa raw ng Diyos ngayon ang lahat ng dapat raw ay kaunawaan sa Biblia, sapagkat sila ay nangaral na para bang sila ang tunay na pinagkalooban lang ng Diyos para sa pangunawa ng Biblia, na sa katotohanan ay puno ng puros kamalian ang marami nilang pangangaral. Hindi dahil sa kulang sila ng katalinuhan, kundi ay dahil sa sobrang pag-angkin nila sa mga sulat. Itinuring nila na para sa kanila ngayon ang mga pahayag na hiwaga noon sa mga kwento. Malinaw na ang mga sulat ay sadyang para sa kanila noon. Bakit ba kasi pilit nating inaagaw ang mga ito, bibigyan ng ibang pakahulugan at huhula ang pilit? Magsasabi ng mga bagay na mula sa sulat at ihahalin tulad sa mga bagay rin sa ating panahon. Halimbawa, ang kapag nakabasa sa Biblia ng mga locust na lumilipad, yun raw ay mga helicopters ngayon na gagamitin sa digmaan. Gayon rin ang sa mga binanggit na pagbagsak ng mga tala o stars mula sa kalangitan. Yun raw ay mga bombang nuklear. Ano ba yan? Nakakatawa na sila minsan. Hindi ba't malinaw na ang mga pagbanggit ng mga pana at espada ay mga bagay na ginagamit nila noon at hindi na angkop sa ating panahon ngayon? Lalo na ang mga pagbanggit sa mga kabayo na ginamit nila noon. Ang mga ito ay hindi na ginagamit ngayon para sa pagpapahatid ng mensahe, lalo na sa pakikipagdigmaan, kaya malinaw na sa kanilang panahon lang ang mga ito ay patungkol. Ang mga pagbabanggit ng mga ito sa kasulatan ay ayon lang sa kanila noong kultura at pamumuhay. Kung kaya ang mga simbolismo na inihahayag sa mga sulat ay kumakatawan sa kanilang panahon at sa kanilang kultura lang. Kaya nga kung gagamitin sa ating panahon ngayon, magdudulot lang ito ng mga panghuhula na mahirap lalong maunawaan. Magbibigay kalituhan ito sa mga bumabasa ngayon. Ngunit sa lahat ng ito, kung tayo naman ay magpapasailalim sa mga kwento at makikinig lang, normal lang na sa mga malalalim na pahayag ng sulat ay hayaan nating Biblia rin ang magpaliwanag. Scripture interprets Scripture. At kung hindi man maunawaan pa rin, tanggapin nga natin na hindi kasi para sa atin ang mga ito. Kaysa manghuhula tayo at magmamagaling pa sa mga tao na para bang propeta rin.
And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder, one of the four beasts saying, Come and see. And I saw, and behold, a white horse. And he that sat on him had a bow, and a crown was given unto him, and he went forth conquering, and to conquer. And when he had opened the second seal, I heard the second beast say, Come and see. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another. And there was given unto him a great sword. And when he had opened the third seal, I heard the third beast say, Come and see. And I beheld, and lo, a black horse, and he that sat on him had a pair of balances in his hand. And I heard a voice in the midst of the four beasts say, A measure of wheat for a penny, and 3 measures of barley for a penny. And see thou hurt not the oil and the wine. And when he had opened the 4th seal, I heard the voice of the 4th beast say, Come and see. And I looked, and behold a pale horse, and his name that sat on him was Death, and hell followed with him. And power was given unto them over the 4th part of the earth, to kill with sword, and with hunger, and with death, and with the beasts of the earth. Book of Revelation, chapter 6, verse 1 through 8.
Sapagkat ang mga sulat na hulang ito noon sa aklat na isinulat ni Apostle John ay katotohanang ipinasulat ng Panginoong Hesus sa kanya upang sa pamamagitan ng mga senyales mula sa mga matatalinhagang liham ay maging malinaw naman ang mga ito para sa kinauukulan sa mga anak ng Diyos sa Israel at matalinhaga para sa mga sumuway at lumapastangan sa Diyos na hindi na kayang unawain ng mga hinukuman ng Diyos sa panahong iyon. Sapagkat sa henerasyong iyon, sinabi ni Jesus na magaganap ng lahat. Sinabi itong buo sa Matthew 24. Panoorin ang detalye sa video, let the reader understand. Kaya sa pauna pa lang ng liham ng Revelation ay ipinahatid na ito sa kanila.
The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his bondservants, the things which must soon take place. And he sent and communicated it by his angel to his bondservant John, who testified to the word of God and to the testimony of Jesus Christ, even to all that he saw. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of the prophecy, and heed the things which are written in it, for the time is near. Revelation chapter 1 verse 1 to 3.
Na malapit na ngang maganap sa kanila noon. Hindi sa atin at sa ating panahon ng sulat, gayon rin sa kahit sinong panahon, kundi para sa kanila noon.
Daniel chapter 12 verse 1 and 2. And there shall be a time of trouble, such as never was since there was a nation, even to that time. And at that time your people shall be delivered, every one who is found written in the book. And many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life.
Everlasting life, sapagkat maayos na buhay sa mga makaliligtas sa kapighatian.
Some to shame and everlasting contempt.
Everlasting contempt naman, sapagkat silang makararanas ng labis na kapighatian, sa kanila ay pakiramdam ng tila wala ng katapusan. Kaya everlasting nga sa kanila. Ito ang kanilang naranasan sa pagdating ng Great Tribulation sa Jerusalem. Hindi ito everlasting life sa langit at everlasting contempt raw sa impyerno. Ano ba yan, kapatid? Basahin at pakinggan natin ang aklat na sulat ni Eusebius noon. Ito ay patunay na kahit sa history ay hindi maikakaila ang tinupad ng Diyos na paghuhukom noon sa Israel.
Eusebius on the destruction of Jerusalem. Excerpts from Eusebius's Ecclesiastical History, Book 3, Chapter 6. How Jerusalem and the Temple were besieged, plundered, and utterly destroyed by the Romans in 70 CE, and how the people endured famine, pestilence, slaughter, torture, slavery, dispersion, and exile. A history written in 75 CE by the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus for his patron, the Roman Emperor Vespasian, to exonerate the Romans for having wrought such calamity and affliction on the people of Jerusalem and their temple. Chapter 6. The famine which oppressed them. Taking the 5th book of the history of Josephus again in our hands, let us go through the tragedy of events which then occurred. For the wealthy, he says, it was equally dangerous to remain. For under pretense that they were going to desert, men were put to death for their wealth. The madness of the seditions increased with the famine, and both the miseries were inflamed more and more day by day. Nowhere was food to be seen. But bursting into the houses, men searched them thoroughly, and whenever they found anything to eat, they tormented the owners on the ground that they had denied that they had anything. But if they found nothing, they tortured them on the ground that they had more carefully concealed it. The proof of their having or not having food was found in the bodies of the poor wretches. Those of them who were still in good condition they assumed were well supplied with food, while those who were already wasted away they passed by. for it seemed absurd to slay those who were on the point of perishing for want. Many, indeed, secretly sold their possessions for 1 measure of wheat, if they belonged to the wealthier class, of barley if they were poorer. Then, shutting themselves up in the innermost parts of their houses, some ate the grain uncooked on account of their terrible want, while others baked it according as necessity and fear dictated. Nowhere were tables set, but snatching the yet uncooked food from the fire, they tore it in pieces. Wretched was the fare, and a lamentable spectacle it was to see the more powerful secure in abundance, while the weaker mourned. Of all evils, indeed, famine is the worst, and it destroys nothing so effectively as shame. For that which under other circumstances is worthy of respect, in the midst of famine is despised. Thus women snatched the food from the very mouths of their husbands and children, from their fathers, and what was most pitiable of all, mothers from their babes. And while their dearest ones were wasting away in their arms, they were not ashamed to take away froth them the last drops that supported life. And even while they were eating thus, they did not remain undiscovered. But everywhere the rioters appeared, to rob them even of these portions of food. For whenever they saw a house shut up, they regarded it as a sign that those inside were taking food. And immediately bursting open the doors, they rushed in and seized what they were eating, almost forcing it out of their very throats. Old men who clung to their food were beaten, and if the women concealed it in their hands, their hair was torn for so doing. There was pity neither for gray hairs nor for infants, but taking up the babes that clung to their morsels of food, they dashed them to the ground. But to those that anticipated their entrance, and swallowed what they were about to seize, they were still more cruel, just as if they had been wronged by them. And they devised the most terrible modes of torture to discover food, stopping up the privy passages of the poor wretches with bitter herbs, and piercing their seats with sharp rods. And men suffered things horrible even to hear of, for the sake of compelling them to confess to the possession of 1 loaf of bread, or in order that they might be made to disclose a single drachm of barley, which they had concealed. But the tormentors themselves did not suffer hunger. Their conduct might indeed have seemed less barbarous if they had been driven to it by necessity, but they did it for the sake of exercising their madness and of providing sustenance for themselves for days to come. And when anyone crept out of the city by night as far as the outposts of the Romans to collect wild herbs and grass, they went to meet him. And when he thought he had already escaped the enemy, they seized what he had brought with him. And even though oftentimes the man would entreat them, and, calling upon the most awful name of God, adjure them to give him a portion of what he had obtained at the risk of his life, they would give him nothing back. Indeed, it was fortunate if the one that was plundered was not also slain. To this account Josephus, after relating other things, adds the following. The possibility of going out of the city being brought to an end, all hope of safety for the Jews was cut off, and the famine increased and devoured the people by houses and families, and the rooms were filled with dead women and children, the lanes of the city with the corpses of old men. Children and youths, swollen with the famine, wandered about the marketplaces like shadows, and fell down wherever the death agony overtook them. The sick were not strong enough to bury even their own relatives, and those who had the strength hesitated because of the multitude of the dead and the uncertainty as to their own fate. Many indeed died while they were burying others, and many betook themselves to their graves before death came upon them. There was neither weeping nor lamentation under these misfortunes, but the famine stifled the natural affections. Those that were dying, a lingering death, looked with dry eyes upon those that had gone to their rest before them. Deep silence and death-laden night encircled the city, but the robbers were more terrible than these miseries, for they broke open the houses, which were now mere sepulchres, robbed the dead and stripped the covering from their bodies, and went away with a laugh. They tried the points of their swords in the dead bodies, and some that were lying on the ground still alive they thrust through in order to test their weapons. But those that prayed that they would use their right hand and their sword upon them, they contemptuously left to be destroyed by the famine. Every one of these died with eyes fixed upon the temple, and they left the seditious alive. These at first gave orders that the dead should be buried out of the public treasury, for they could not endure the stench. But afterward, when they were not able to do this, they threw the bodies from the walls into the trenches. And as Titus went around and saw the trenches filled with the dead and the thick blood oozing out of the putrid bodies, he groaned aloud, and raising his hands, called God to witness that this was not his doing. After speaking of some other things, Josephus proceeds as follows. I cannot hesitate to declare what my feelings compel me to. I suppose if the Romans had longer delayed in coming against these guilty wretches, the city would have been swallowed up by a chasm, or overwhelmed with a flood, or struck with such thunderbolts as destroyed Sodom. For it had brought forth a generation of men much more godless than were those that suffered such punishment. By their madness, indeed, was the whole people brought to destruction. And in the 6th book he writes as follows. Of those that perished by famine in the city, the number was countless, and the miseries they underwent unspeakable. For if so much as the shadow of food appeared in any house, there was war, and the dearest friends engaged in hand-to-hand conflict with one another, and snatched from each other the most wretched supports of life. Nor would they believe that even the dying were without food. But the robbers would search them while they were expiring, lest anyone should feign death while concealing food in his bosom. With mouths gaping for want of food, they stumbled and staggered along like mad dogs, and beat the doors as if they were drunk. And in their impotence they would rush into the same houses twice or thrice in 1 hour. Necessity compelled them to eat anything they could find, and they gathered and devoured things that were not fit, even for the filthiest of irrational beasts. Finally, they did not abstain even from their girdles and shoes, and they stripped the hides off their shields and devoured them. Some used even wisps of old hay for food, and others gathered stubble and sold the smallest weight of it for 4 Attic drachmae. But why should I speak of the shamelessness which was displayed during the famine toward inanimate things? For I am going to relate a fact such as is recorded neither by Greeks nor barbarians, horrible to relate, incredible to hear. And indeed I should gladly have omitted this calamity, that I might not seem to posterity to be a teller of fabulous tales, if I had not innumerable witnesses to it in my own age. And besides, I should render my country poor service if I suppressed the account of the sufferings which she endured. There was a certain woman named Mary that dwelt beyond Jordan, whose father was Eliezer, of the village of Bathazor, which signifies the house of hyssop. She was distinguished for her family and her wealth, and had fled with the rest of the multitude to Jerusalem, and was shut up there with them during the siege. The tyrants had robbed her of the rest of the property which she had brought with her into the city from Perea, and the remnants of her possessions and whatever food was to be seen, the guards rushed in daily and snatched away from her. This made the woman terribly angry, and by her frequent reproaches and imprecations, she aroused the anger of the rapacious villains against herself. But no one either through anger or pity would slay her, and she grew weary of finding food for others to eat. The search, too, was already become everywhere difficult, and the famine was piercing her bowels and marrow, and resentment was raging more violently than famine. Taking therefore anger and necessity as her counselors, she proceeded to do a most unnatural thing. Seizing her child, a boy which was sucking at her breast, she said, O wretched child in war and famine in sedition, for what do I preserve thee? Slaves among the Romans we shall be, even if we are allowed to live by them. But even slavery is anticipated by the famine, and the rioters are more cruel than both. Come, be food for me, a fury for these rioters, and a byword to the world, for this is all that is wanting to complete the calamities of the Jews. And when she had said this, she slew her son, and having roasted him, she ate 1/2 herself, and covering up the remainder, she kept it. Very soon the rioters appeared on the scene, and smelling the nefarious odor, they threatened to slay her immediately unless she should show them what she had prepared. She replied that she had saved an excellent portion for them, and with that, she uncovered the remains of the child. They were immediately seized with horror and amazement and stood transfixed at the sight. But she said, This is my own son, and the deed is mine. Eat, for I too have eaten. Be not more merciful than a woman, nor more compassionate than a mother. But if you are too pious and shrink from my sacrifice, I have already eaten of it. Let the rest also remain for me. At these words the men went out trembling, in this one case being affrighted. Yet with difficulty did they yield that food to the mother. Forthwith the whole city was filled with the awful crime, and as all pictured the terrible deed before their own eyes, they trembled as if they had done it themselves. Those that were suffering from the famine now longed for death, and blessed were they that had died before hearing and seeing miseries like these. Such was the reward which the Jews received for their wickedness and impiety against the Christ of God.
Sa lahat ng mga nakapangingilabot na pangyayaring ito na naganap sa Israel noong AD 70, mabibigyan natin ng wastong pangunawa ang mga babala sa kanila noon ng Panginoong Hesus, na dapat ay maging malinaw na sa atin ngayon ang kanyang mga hula noon na naganap nga sa kanila at sa kanilang henerasyon.
Luke chapter 23, verse 28 to 29. But Jesus turning to them said, Daughters of Jerusalem, stop weeping for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. For behold, the days are coming when they will say, Blessed are the barren and the wombs that never bore, and the breasts that never nursed. Luke 21, verse 20 to 23. But when you see Jerusalem surrounded by armies, then recognize that her desolation is near. Then those who are in Judea must flee to the mountains, and those who are in the midst of the city must leave. And those who are in the country must not enter the city. Because these are days of vengeance, so that all things which are written will be fulfilled. Woe to those who are pregnant, and to those who are nursing babies in those days. For there will be great distress upon the land, and wrath to this people.
Mga babala na hindi naunawaan ng marami sa kanila noon, dahil sa kanilang kawalang pananampalataya kay Jesus ay naitago sa kanila ang kaalaman ng para sa kaligtasan mula sa labis na kapighatiang parating na noon sa kanila. Sinalita ito ni Jesus sa mga Pariseo noon.
When he approached Jerusalem, he saw the city and wept over it, saying, If you had known in this day, even you, the things which make for peace. But now they have been hidden from your eyes. For the days will come upon you, when your enemies will throw up a barricade against you, and surround you and hem you in on every side, and they will level you to the ground and your children within you, and they will not leave in you one stone upon another, because you did not recognize the time of your visitation. Matthew 23, verse 37 to 38. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, who kills the prophets and stones those who are sent to her. How often I wanted to gather your children together, the way a hen gathers her chicks under her wings, and you were unwilling. Behold, your house is being left to you desolate.
Ang lahat ng mga isinasaad ng mga hula ng Panginoong Hesus na ipinaalam kay John sa aklat ng Revelation ay pahayag nga ng mga magaganap sa kanila noon. Sa kanilang henerasyon, lahat ay matutupad. Pangako ang mga ito ng mga sulat para sa kanila. Kaya papaanong sinasabi pa ng mga simbahan ngayon na ang mga hulang ito ay para sa atin at sa ating panahon palang darating. Napakamaling pangangaral kasi ang ginawa nilang pag-angkin sa mga sulat ng hula, na sa kanilang katuruan ay para sa atin pang hinaharap magaganap pa lang ang labis na kapighatian o ang Great Tribulation. Maling-mali kapatid, maliwanag pa sa sikat ng araw ang isinasaad ng hula sa Revelation, na ang mga ito ay sulat para sa kanila noon, sa Jerusalem, at hindi sa atin.
Revelation 1, verse 1 to 3. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave him to show to his bondservants, the things which must soon take place. And he sent and communicated it by his angel to his bondservant John, who testified to the word of God and to the testimony of Jesus Christ, even to all that he saw. Blessed is he who reads and those who hear the words of the prophecy, and heed the things which are written in it. For the time is near.
Ito ang nasa panguna pa lang ng sulat, at gayon rin ang sa panghuli.
Revelation 22, verse 6 to 7. And he said to me, These words are faithful and true. And the Lord, the God of the spirits of the prophets, sent his angel to show to his bondservants the things which must soon take place. And behold, I am coming quickly. Blessed is he who heeds the words of the prophecy of this book.
Behold, I am coming quickly, sapagkat parating na nga siya noon para sa paghuhukom. Kaya salamat o Diyos, sapagkat naganap na ang lahat. Lahat-lahat ng iyong mga napagtagumpayan na. Ang aming kalayaan na upang makasunod sa iyong mga utos ng paggawa ng pag-ibig sa kapwa. Salamat, Ama. Salamat, Panginoong Hesus.